which is nice because we don't. Oh. on, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly talk show, Beyond the Northern Wall, with me, your host, Kayla Malari. I hope you can all hear me right now, and I hope you can all hear Shell when he starts talking. Let's see. Shell, say something.
Something. I'm giving up on you.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I'm not perfect that you're giving up on me. I'm like watching the little sound bars go up, so like, I hope we can hear you. Yay! I did it. I made the thing work. So this week we have a very special episode. If you haven't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I don't know what you're doing here, but you need to go on to Disney Plus and go binge that series, because we are going to be talking about it. And I asked the king himself, Shellin, to come onto this show and talk about it. At first, it wasn't going to happen. We had this whole video. He had a great video planned out. And then the Fates said, no, he needs to talk about this live. So they, in a very roundabout way, made it so that he can come and be on this show live, which is great because Slither wins for the win. But because he's here and because we were talking about the whole show, spoilers. Spoiler alert. I'm going to keep this up here the whole time in case people are confused. There are spoilers this whole time for the show. If you haven't seen the show, we're not going to not spoil things.
We're going to spoil...
He said,
It's because of Rhea.
Oh, I know. She said 6 foot. Which is why we love 6 foot. All right. And don't forget to share this show with everyone on your social media, because this is going to be a great discussion. Now, before we go into it, Shell, Han, Shalangela, which is something I haven't called you in forever. It's been a hot second because of the Pundisol that we're in right now. We haven't performed a lot. So can you give a quick breakdown of your time on Core, when you first started, and what characters you've played?
My time on Core has been so much extensive. I've been Natsu Dragneel, I've been Alphonse Alric, I've been dancer in the back with Kayla that says, "It's okay, we got this." Number 4. I've been Tenya Ida, and I love the character, love that guy. I've been person behind the camera, and that's kind of how I got my start with Core and with filming and with all the other things. Yeah, those are just a couple to name a few, and a few to name a couple.
I know I feel like you've, just like with Little and Trini, I feel like you guys have always been there since the beginning, which is just, it's kind of funny when we reference things and I'm like, wait, you weren't there for that? And you're like, no, definitely wasn't. I'm like, nah, you were there for that. So for those who don't know, and if you're a comrade who doesn't know, this is literally class rep right up here, but also the king himself. So we love Marvel. I did a whole comic series about it, or not about it, but a whole comic series, and I talked more about Marvel than I did DC. This, we've been new. We know this. Shell knows how much I hate and love DC, and how much I love and love Marvel. Because same. You're above me, I hope you know. Are you?
For me, you're as above, so below.
So if I do this,
you're
this is what's working. Which, by the way, that's a great movie, As Above, So Below. It definitely made Noble House watch it. Anyways, so we had WandaVision, great show, so perfect, so good. Then Marvel's still killing the game. They brought about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And there was a certain level of preparation all of us had for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and yet there was no level of preparation we could have had for the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, with that being said, overall thoughts on it. So, I'm going to kind of read the questions that I originally gave Shell and then elaborate on them. So, one, we used to, as Core, we used to always go and watch Marvel movies together. We would try to do the midnight premieres. If not, we would try to do it the week that it came out. I think my most favorite memory of going to watch Marvel movies with Core was when we went to go watch Infinity War, because we actually watched that like a week after it came out because none of us had time.
None.
We didn't. And so we were like, oh my God, no one tell us what's going on. But we did dress up for it full like ready for a night out as Bounding Avengers, and we watched it out in Buena Park. And I remember none of us spoke afterwards. We were just so devastated. But it was such a fun night. And in a way, I know I asked you, do these shows fill the void of watching Marvel movies? In the sense of watching the Marvel movies, yes. It gives us the fix that I've needed for new Marvel content. But what sucks is that we can't even watch it together. We can't even, like, be in the same room together and watch it. I'm lucky because I get Joseph. And I get all of his screams. And all of his random yells for Peter Parker. Can I tell you the amount of time he just randomly, Peter Parker! I'm like, he's not going to show up. He's not going to save anyone. Which I wish you had been there for that. I was like, what?
Hey everyone, like no one was ready.
You're like, oh my gosh, he just showed up for Civil War. Now he just showed up for the Falcon and Winter Soldier. But I got at least that. So I don't know how it felt for you. Like, did it fill the void, or how was it? How was it knowing that we can only discuss it in post rather than like as it was happening?
I think the most accurate representation of how that went and how it felt was literally me texting you saying, did you not cry in the last 2 episodes? And you saying, I haven't watched it yet. And me saying, never mind.
Yep.
And I waited, and then you hit me up to do the show, and I was like, okay, now she's watched it. I feel better. So it definitely hasn't filled the void, but it's given, I think, us something to reconvene and recommunicate about, because I'm not at rehearsals currently. I'm working, I'm driving all very far, etc.
Sad.
Yeah. But it's something that we literally can jump right back into in the midst of the Pan Dulce and like
I hate you. That's good.
In the midst of the pandemic, and like really get excited about again, because the only other thing at that point is just all being around each other again and being able to be ourselves. Mm-hmm. So this is hype. Like it hasn't been this. The energy hasn't been this ecstatic since Endgame, since all the things, and this is one of those things that now we have that to look forward to. And they spaced it out in such a water cooler way that weekly we have something to talk about if we're all keeping up.
Yep.
Some of us will binge it at the end, but at least it gives the people that follow it all the way through something to talk about every week, and then it gives the people that are binging something to go back and say, yo, I understand now, let's talk. Like, and that's just really exciting, because I feel like weekly then you just get a different like Korsman and a different person that just jumps on the train and that's able to talk about it, which is nice. Like because again, it brings everybody back to the mean. It's very nice. I like that.
Which makes it awkward when Korsman don't watch it and you're like, what else can we, I mean, there's so much we can talk about, but what else can we talk about right now? Like there's so many feelings right now, and you have to understand that we're stressed out right now. Speaking of stressed out, and speaking of Korsman watching this show, not only do we love Marvel, not only are we huge fans of the whole world and the universe and superheroes, but we had another reason to watch the show, and he's right there. Our very own Des got to play Dovich, which, by the way, okay, small thing. Because Joseph likes watching it with subtitles, so we had subtitles in one episode, and when Des spoke, it said Dovich, and then it has him speaking. Then the next episode, when Des speaks, it says Super Soldier. We were so mad. We're like, he has a name, sir.
Angry.
So angry. We were pissed. I don't even know what they were talking about. I was mad. Because I was like, he has a name. And then it took 2 more episodes for they to call him Dovich again. And I was like, yeah, use his name. Mm-hmm. Call me by your name. And all that jazz. Mm-hmm. So, all that aside, it was crazy because we know Des is amazing. And yet it still didn't sit that he was on screen playing a super soldier, like, because he just is one in real life, which I have a story for that, and I want to tell you because you're going to love it. But how was it knowing that this is someone that not only, Des didn't just deserve this role, he earned this role. He earned to be part of the Marvel Universe. So I know, like, we were so excited. What did it feel like seeing someone you knew in a Marvel show. Be a super soldier.
Des bridges the gap for me between I'm watching it and like not I could do it, but like I could do it. Like if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because Des has put in the work, and in the short stint that I lived with him, like when I'd wake up, Des would be in the gym. When I'd go to bed, Des would probably be on gym regiment number 2 for the sake of whatever he was working on. One of my favorite things was reading lines with him. The man was never not working. So to hear that he finally got like a Marvel ticket and to know that it was for more than just background character number 7, like he was the entire like voice of reason for a movement. And if that isn't Des, who has been the sort of person that tries to find the middle ground for two opposing forces, I couldn't have written him better. I would have a Flag Smashers led by Dovich, sign me up like immediately. Seeing him and just watching the show with I made my mom watch it. I made her. She was like, "We don't have anything good on TV," and I was like, "I got you." We started watching it, and she's just like, "Oh, that guy's beating him up. I don't like it." And I was like, "Mom, but that's Des." She's like, "Oh, get him, Des." Like, you can't help but root for your hometown hero. Like, I can't think of a thing that I've seen him in that I haven't been like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be on the bad team this time." Yep, General Riga. I was like, "Yeah, Magic sucks. I love Magic. I'm a liar. I'm a liar."
I'm a liar.
But it's because it was Des, you know. And I genuinely can't think of a way that it could have been written better, like if for Marvel to include him in that way, because yes to all the things, and yes to all the hard work, and yes to all the repetition, and yes to the fact that he's actually built like a super soldier action figure. Like that's just how he exists in real life. And
okay, so small story about him being a real life super soldier. I was in a meeting with Nifa and Soulmate, and we were talking about stuff, and I started talking about TikTok. I don't know if you've seen this trend, but on TikTok they have that trend where you like break an egg right here, and so many people can't do it. It's because of the structural integrity of an egg. It's built so that it's built so it's not as fragile as it is. It's not meant to break easy, and like super buff people were trying it, and there's just certain people can do it, most can't. And when I said that, immediately Soulmate gets up, she gets Tyler, they go get an egg, and they try to break it over the sink, and me and Nifa are just laughing, and Soulmate's like, "No," and it's not happening. So you hear Sammy go, "Des, come here," and Des goes immediately, "No." And she's in the kitchen, and she's like, "Can you break this egg with your bicep?" And he goes, "No, it's physically impossible." He's like in his head, he's like, the science doesn't work, because in his head he's like, the way it's shaped, the way it goes, the way your body holds it, like it's not gonna do that. And she's like, "No, just try it." Des is in so much denial. We're watching. He goes, "It's not gonna." He literally flexes like the smallest bit. It explodes. The egg explodes in his face. It goes from the kitchen to their bathroom. To their bathroom.
I know where that is.
You know how far that is from their kitchen. Me and Sonali are screaming. I'm screaming. I start running around the apartment screaming, "Oh my God, he's a super soldier." He really did it. And he was so not expecting it. I was like, "Des, I'm so hyped right now." He was like, "Why?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let's go to war. I want to build something. I don't know what, but I'm hyped because you just broke an egg." Like, he's a real life super soldier. He just is. He just is.
And not for less than saying, but the kind that inspires you, because I can assure you that after this, I'm going to go try to break it.
Oh, you are. But also it was like,
I'll record it.
And what I loved about it is that his nerd came out where he was like, "No, because physically, like the way physics works, it does." And I was like, "You're a super soldier and you went to science first before you went to like actual physical prowess." That's just, so I agree. Dovich was exactly how Des would be if he was part of a rebellion, if he was giving the serum. Like, he understands you should fight, but there is a limit to the amount of violence and the amount of rebellion you can do. And it's funny because years ago when we had Christmas at my house, like up in the Bay, Nifa and Des and all of us, Amy was there, and we were talking about The Walking Dead. What were we talking about? No. We were talking about Jessica Jones and The Walking Dead. And Des was like, I don't really believe humanity would be that terrible. And I remember we had this whole discussion. I was like, what? But it's like the apocalypse. He's like, no, I have like faith that I don't think people would be as terrible as they're depicting it. And if that's not a perfect idea of who Des is, like, just so much faith. So much faith. So, like, how crazy it is. It was hard not to separate Dovich from Des. Yeah. But it was hard because they wrote it like it was Des and not Dovich. Mm-hmm. So I agree with everything you said. Like, that was, wow, what a great thing. And it's great. Like, Nifa's so proud of him. If there was ever an actor that deserved the accolades that they're getting right now, it's definitely Des. And so many people say, like, this person deserves... No. Des really deserves it because he really is a hard worker and a great person. And I'm determined to get him a parking meter for his birthday or for Christmas. He just needs a parking meter because that will be his...
We can talk about that. We should hit Yosh.
Oh, we should hit up Yosh. And like Caleb, kind of, because that'd be great. That should be Dez's cosplay.
They should gray area collab that.
They should collab, and that should be Dez's cosplay for when we go back into cons. Like, just him dressed as himself, but
You're
carrying a parking meter. How great would that be?
Phenomenal. My favorite thing. Literally my favorite thing. He has to have the jacket, though, with all of it.
This jacket that's in the picture right now, I found this picture because people were breaking down all their outfits and like where to get it, and I'm like, this is like, I'm pretty sure Des just has this jacket. Pretty sure he just walked on the set.
Yeah, I think that might be a thing that exists in his closet.
He just walked on the set this day.
Yeah.
Dressed
Sorry,
like that.
guys. I forgot to go to fitting. No, that works. Let's do that.
Also,
never forget to go to fitting, but perfect.
I'm glad that he did the half up, half down for Dovich because I've always wanted to do a Des cosplay. And like at first it was going to be the General Riga because that was the hair that I had. But now that he's got the Dovich, now I'm totally going to be like, I want him to cosplay as like him as Dovich with a real parking meter and me with like the little kitty ones, like the ones that have a squeaky and have like the pop balls inside of it. That'd be hilarious. Just like little kids.
We take We Are Robin and make it We Are Dovich.
Or just We Are Des and be all the versions of Des.
Yo.
Someone's got to be him from Reef Break.
I would so do it.
We Are Des.
I would absolutely do it.
It's our next set. We Are Des.
We Are Des.
Oh, that's fun. Don't say it, because you know, Shell, we're going to do it.
I know, and I would like to call dibs on one, but I'm also the same person that was like, I could probably do my hair half up, half down, and I put it half up, and then realized I shaved the half down, so...
You did?
I understand that I shouldn't do that. Well, yeah, you know what... Really?
Oh, yeah. It's been a while, because your hair's so long now, I can't tell. Yeah, I forgot. P.S. Your hair's so long now. So long.
Yeah.
I have pictures in my phone of like when you had the little hair, and it was like the smalls.
The Killmongers.
Oh, your Killmonger hair. Dang, your hair's so long now. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on. Nifa's in the chat, just so y'all know. Sammy is the one. No, Nifa, you have to be the only person managing all of us because that's who you are in real life. She's the one behind the core dance crew right now, just so y'all know. So don't tell Des. Anyways, okay. Next question. All right, this is gonna this fool. So we all know Johnny Walker, Texas Ranger, is not the best person, and I want you to touch on what you said in your discussion about how he was made for the serum as opposed to the serum being made for him in the case of Steve. Like that, when you said that, that was so perfect. But it's funny because Caleb, when we were talking about this at rehearsal, Caleb's like, I'm surprised that he's like, he thought it was weird that people were like, oh my gosh, John Walker is so bad. And he's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, he wasn't supposed to be the good Captain America. He was supposed to be hashtag not my captain because he was supposed to show you what happens when not Steve Rogers takes up the mantle. So, I mean, and I said it too, I understand the sequence of events that led to him being who he became as Captain America and Johnny Walker, Texas Ranger. I don't agree with it, but it makes sense, especially with him being a former soldier, him and his history, him trying to fill huge shoes. So, and other people are just like, no, he's just terrible. He's the worst. I'm like, yeah, but you also have to know that his horrificness didn't come from nothing. It came from something that's really integrated in the U.S. government, because he was the perfect symbol of how bad things can go. So I don't know. How did you feel or perceive Wish Captain America?
When the first scene that I saw with Wish Captain America, of course, I had my reservations. I was like, no, it's not Steve Rogers. No, it's not Sam. I hate it. But I forever loathe the sorts of people that will attack actors, voice actors, etc., for a character, making them feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
So I fully acknowledge that the fact that he made me feel all those things meant, yo, he's really good at this role. Like, and I was literally blown away, because I rarely get that invested in characters, but he's definitely a character that was just like, I want something to redeem you from where I think you're going.
Yeah.
And that something or someone ended up being Lamar. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. I recognized immediately, because they changed Captain America from being just a hero to being a symbol, like a job.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird, because when Captain America first became Captain America, he was a job, and then he was a hero, and then they tried to revert it back to, which was a weird thing to do, but it makes sense, because things like fitness, things like certain situations, certain scenarios in real life now are coming full circle. Like, and fitness is a dope thing to go full circle. Like, we weren't really talking about that 3-4 years ago, but
yeah,
now people are trying harder. So that made sense. It made sense that it went full circle, and they were like, okay, well, let's try to do it the same way we did it before, but like let's merge the two worlds. Let's merge the symbol with the job title and call it what it is, and then take ownership of it, and let's breed someone to be able to do this, because how does lightning strike in the same place twice? It doesn't. And that was Steve Rogers, and unfortunately, Wish Captain America is essentially what would have happened if they went with, and I don't remember his name, but he was the big muscly dude that was doing the jumping jacks.
Yeah.
When he threw the grenade, and he was like, he's the perfect soldier. He's not going to ask questions. He's not going to etc. And they threw the dummy grenade, and Steve was like, get back. And the other dude jumped over the other side of the car, and he was just like, get back, go away. Like, we got the foreshadowing. We got the foreshadowing in the first Avenger as to what would happen if someone that wasn't sound of character would have received the serum.
Mm-hmm.
We got the foreshadowing of what would have happened if someone who was built for the serum would have received the serum. And this was just that weird coming of age thing, where now we were proved right. We were proved as to why it had to be Steve Rogers in the first place. And even with the serum being unstable for whomever else took it, etc., there was the one weird, again, lightning striking twice. Like, it was not only stable for him, but also he received it well. He was sound of character, and he just became a better version of himself, which was a huge deal. And that's not to take away from the fact that Wish Captain America maybe didn't enlist for the right reasons, because you can't. I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's not rare that people enlist for the wrong reasons, but there's a level of selflessness that has to exist a little bit for you to decide you want to serve your country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exempting that from the fact that people feel like, okay, well, now that I'm doing that, I'm above the law, I'm etc. But serve your country is the way that's worded. Service is still there, and that has to mean that there's something in you that acknowledges that there's more to it than just you being a soldier, a unit, etc. Like, because you want to protect people. There's a level of wanting to protect people. He was a great soldier, and that's it. And that's after everything he saw. Like, PTSD, of course, could have set in. A whole lot of things could have been things, but he was a phenomenal soldier. I was blown away when I saw him throw the shield for the first time, because, and this is homage to Joseph, Happy in Peter Parker, and I'm gonna call it Peter Parker, definitely threw the shield and was like, how does he do that? Like, so to see him able to wield the shield not as a super soldier, shock and awe. Like that for me, I was like, that's a really big deal because he's worked hard. He's working hard to do this. I was like, but what else is there? And there was always the what else is there for me. Like, since I was introduced to Wish Captain America, I always wanted the thing to redeem him from just being a good soldier, because the first Avenger literally set us up to believe that the role of Captain America wasn't about just being a good soldier. Because Steve was a great soldier, even when he didn't have the serum. He was a great soldier, physically inadequate, yes. Did he have Asmar? Of course. Like, was he small? It's fine. Do you not have half of those things? Yes. Have I seen you lift people 8 times your size? Yes. You know, like, you specifically. So he was a great soldier. He followed orders. He did all the things. But there had to be more. And I feel like from the time that I met Wish Captain America, there was never the more, and I wanted it to happen. And when I realized the direction that he was going to go in, if he lost his voice of reason, I was like, oh, this is going to get bad.
It's crazy because what it did was everything that you said, and it's why I love what Captain America represents, which came out in Civil War, not the movie, but in the comics, where they asked Captain America, like, you're not registering with the U.S. government, you're not giving forth your aliases, you're Captain America. Why aren't you agreeing with the U.S.? And he said, I'm not here to agree with the government. Captain America doesn't stand for the United States of America. It stands for the American dream. Those are two very separate things. So that's what this was, is that he can take the name, but he's representing the U.S. government and how they run things and how the military run things. Not to say that it's bad across the board, but Captain America wasn't about those ideals. He was about the dream of literally standing up for everyone, being the hope. What a lot of people don't know is Captain America was designed and created by 2 Jewish men as their way to fight against the Nazis. That's why he represents that. He represents the underdog taking on the big powers and being able to do that. So the American dream of what the U.S. was way back in the day, where America was the underdog, the new young country that was somehow playing dice with all the big superpowers of the Western civilizations. And it was perfect that they showed that he was a great soldier. What me and Joseph did not like, which were like, ain't no one gonna, and no one talks about it. The first time he pulls out a gun when he's out on a raid. And we were like, sir, ma'am, what is that thing in your hand? Ooh, bars. But we were like, no, and no one really talked about it because there's too much going on. But you're like, put that away. I mean, proud that you can hold the shield because, again, impressive. Like a normal human doing that, which makes it all the more impressive when Sam does it in more creative ways. But, like, impressive that you can do that. But also, why are you holding a gun, boo-boo? That's, like, just, it was a very subtle and very clear narration on what he was as Captain America. And then I love it when Zemo says it later on in his hip bachelor pad. Like, what was that? He was like, when has there ever been another Steve Rogers? And Bucky's like, there hasn't. And even Sam knows there hasn't. Even though we know that the second Steve Rogers is sitting right there in the room with everyone else. And it's just, it is impressive because it follows why we love Deku or why we love characters like Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. It's not that they're there to, they weren't given all of the powers. They weren't the best in class. But it shows that your ideals and your willpower can change how you take on responsibility as opposed to other people who are probably more equipped for it. It's the difference of why Deku was the perfect candidate for All Might's power as opposed to anyone else. It's like, you can't teach someone the tenacity to jump into a fray when they're not fully equipped for it, which is such a huge narration of what last year was, or every year that civil rights movements have to be out there. You may not be the strongest, you may not have the biggest voice, you may not have the biggest influence, But there is a difference of someone who almost has nothing to give, giving their everything for stuff like that. And those are always the people that we say are heroes. So it's funny, like, when people look up to heroes and then kind of don't understand that what makes a hero isn't the fact that they're super. That part comes afterwards. You know? So, like, on... No, go for it.
Put yourself out there for that. No, you have to put yourself out there for that. No one's gonna see your super if you're just watching. Like, I've never seen a super watcher.
Unless you're like a professional stalker.
But Joe from You, like that's like the best.
Yo, but he was a super stalker. Like, he was really good at stalking. Why was he really good at it? Like, he had skills. I was like, bruh, weird.
We'll give him that. Okay, so I've rarely seen a super watcher, but yeah, it does take putting yourself out there to be any of those things, because and it's again proof of Steve Rogers, as small as he was, as problematic as his history was with just health and etc. He was short. All the things he did the thing, and that's literally people from the time he jumped on the grenade were like, oh, like, you're really serious about this. And even in the first movie, like, just to bring back the point of you saying that Wish Captain had a gun, Steve had a gun in one scene and like walked in and like shot it a couple times, but I've never seen him with a gun after that scene.
He literally threw it aside because remember he was on the car and he was like, this is pointless.
Yeah, he was like, I don't no, like immediately, and it was a big little thing that I don't. If you didn't watch the first Avenger recently, some people may have forgotten that. But I love that you brought that up, because that was a huge thing. Because even toward the end of the series, when he comes out as discolored Wish Captain America, he has no shield, but he does have a gun strapped to his leg. And I was like, oh, there you go. That is, you are a U.S. agent. Good for you.
You are a U.S. agent.
You are a U.S. agent. Good for you.
And I agree. I think Nifa said it too. I feel bad, and you said this earlier. I feel bad for Wyatt Russell. I mean, Kurt Russell's son, so Ego's son, just from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a great actor. It's sad because he did have to delete all of his social media because people just hated on him, which is so bizarre and weird. If you're out there and you're anyone that associates characters with the actual actors that play them, y'all need to chill, because that is a suspension of reality that needs to actually stop, because he's not actually doing the stuff that his character is doing on stage. He actually is that great of an actor that he's making you really dislike him. And you can tell he's not like that. But also, what a great undertaking to know that you took this role and that everyone's gonna hate you. Like, that takes some guts.
Which is weird, because that's the entire premise of the last episode.
Exactly. See, I got you. We'll get to there. But speaking of bad guys, okay, where is she? This little nugget over here. So Carly. We know likey Carly. We know likey Carly. Her purpose, valid until she started killing people. And what I said was, in the words of Hanji, I agree, there's never any reason for genocide. Even if it's going to save... If, like, destroying 500 lives will save 5,000 lives, can you really justify that 500? Tell me that isn't a perfect metaphor for the... Not even a metaphor. It is just a straight commentary on the pandemic. Like, one life. One life is as important as all 8 billion lives. So, did you agree with the flag smashers? Because I did to an extent, but they are a far cry from, say, Killmonger's perspective of being a villain, which was much more understandable in its justification than the flag smashers. And in the sense with Killmonger, the killings that he did it make it better? No. Was, like, should he have kicked out, T'Challa from the entire country? No. 100% no. But when he said what he felt, you're like, oh. And I've talked about this a lot, especially because he was talking about racial injustice, about how the people have suffered without Wakanda having their back. yes, we feel that right now. We want retribution and not just accountability. We want justification and not just awareness. So, to an extent, I can understand that there is an anger that manifests in action. But when Carly just started, like, after knowing someone was innocent and then to still blow them up, like, Dovich's face at that point was the same as I think everyone's in the audience. You're like, wait, what? You know, you did all the work and then your answer was wrong on the assignment. Like, why did you do that? So I don't know. How did you feel about the Flag Smashers? Because you also understand Killmonger's perspective when it came to Black Panther.
I think that one of the biggest things that fueled Killmonger and Carly was other people holding the mantle of gatekeeper. For Killmonger, it was gatekeeper for the sake of not providing for a people that look like you, that breathe like you, that exist like you outside of your borders. For Carly, it was for the sake of the higher-ups and the people that weren't displaced, for the sake of people returning, not taking care of the people that were displaced by people returning. There was a weird, I can't even say weird because it's so commonplace, but there was a complete lack of questioning, lack of empathy, no one sought actual answers. No one looked for reasons as to, well, why are these people behaving so viscerally? And I will grant, I don't like the way that Killmonger did it, but did he not do his job as a soldier, go to Wakanda, challenge properly, take the mantle, and then do his dirt? Yes. My favorite scene, because Des was in it, my favorite scene was literally when Carly's like, okay, like, we gotta start now, we gotta move now, are we ready? And everyone's like, yeah, but like, what are we doing? And she explains, and she goes, one world. And no one says one people, because at that point everyone understood, yo, Carly's not, she's no longer representing what we view this movement as, because this movement isn't about violence. It's not about killing people. It's not about holding people hostage, because, and I said it in the first video, because if all lives matter, then you can't dismiss the fact that killing people for the sake of your movement includes people whose lives matter.
Exactly.
It was hard to agree with her methodology, but I understood why she was upset. And I understand the feeling of having to shout so loud that it becomes mass destruction, because no one's listening to you. But not only they're not listening, they're not asking why, which is why I think that Carly and Sam's relationship was like, it was bittersweet, because Sam asked why and she bit immediately.
Oh, yes.
Immediately, because no one else stopped to say, what's wrong? Like, why are you upset? And that comes, it was weird, because I feel like that was presented to us from a cultural level of understanding. Mm-hmm. No one asks why you're upset. Okay, well, I get that. Well, how could you get that, Carly? Girl.
Yeah, he literally was like, that scene was so nicely done, because it was I think the first time you saw Carly as the kid that she really was, because Sam was talking to her like an adult to someone who was hurting, because a lot of people did forget that's what Sam did after he retired from like missions. He was a counselor for vets, so he's like, this is literally what I do, is I talk to people that have so much trauma, and I try to understand what they're feeling, and we try to like get to some common ground. And yeah, she bit right away. She had this whole discussion with him, and you're like, and that's where I was like, I get what she's feeling, because their Flag Smashers were doing something for people, because it, like, everything that they were showing on behalf of the GNC, and I said that to you in another question, I was like, this show knows exactly what they're doing. So like, oh, this kind of looks like the Syrian refugees. Oh, this kind of looks like what's going on foreign soil. Like, we say we're helping these people, and then you're really not. And are we really supposed to be surprised that they're angry? Like, is Carly, are we supposed to be surprised that she was like, oh, you're just killing all my people, and you're pretending you're doing something for us, and you're about to pass a bill that screws us over even more? Like, And then then you're like, why are you mad? And you're right. No one asked. And that's why Sam says it. No one asked. Like, how dumb are you guys that you didn't even try to think? You just wanted to brand them as terrorists, but you didn't even think about the fact that, hey, we're calling you guys terrorists on foreign soil. So it's that whole he said, she said idea. And so what Carly stood for, and what the flag smashers stood for, 100% was like real talk to the extreme. It just sucked. It was, Carly is, to me, is the Eren Yeager in this Marvel universe. We're like, oh, it makes sense. And then all of a sudden, it doesn't make sense anymore. And you're like, I can't. And it is that when you watch it starts with Dovich, and then you watch all of the rest of the Flag Smashers be like, girl, dang it. Like, they knew. They're like, oh, we are now on the wrong side. Sucks.
And it's more to say that she. Oh wait, is this a question for later?
What?
The thing I was gonna say, I'll say the first thing. She allowed people to dictate her narrative as opposed to keeping her narrative true. Is that a later question? I feel like
no. Go ahead and say it now.
Oh yes. Okay. So yes. And all of the reason for that is because she got to a point where she let people dictate what she was. When she started working with criminals, when she started working with terrorists, etc., she let people tell her that that's what her movement was. And you got to be so steadfast to lead a movement. You got to be so steadfast to march in those streets. You got to be the person that says, we're not here for violence. And I know you know what I'm talking about, you specifically, because that was the fastest I've ever seen a fight broken up. And you saw me go that way. And I didn't need to, because everyone understood. You got to know what you're doing, and you got to understand that eyes are on you. And if you let people tell you what you're about for what you're doing, it loses so much momentum and so much credibility, and it loses so much of everything. Because as soon as you decide to let people tell you, like, you're a terrorist, you're this, you're that, what ground do you have to stand on? How dare you make demands? How dare you ask for things? Because you bit into the narrative that someone's creating for you. And my least favorite thing will for always and forever be the bigger person. But especially if you're leading a movement, you have no other choice than to be the bigger person, to eat bitter, to be the example. And that's unfortunately a 24/7 thing. Like, you got to be the example even while you're asleep.
Yep.
Because people are watching for all of those things. And that's why it was so hard when she decided to blow up that building. That's why it was so hard when she lost touch with herself to the extent of to all those things. Like, that's why it was so hard when she said, I don't want to kill people whose lives don't matter, because she literally denounced her entire movement, which was that our lives also matter. So why are you treating us this way? Because she then said, as a leader for a movement of people who were important, that there are lives that are expendable. There are lives that don't matter. There are people that are allowed to be killed, and that just wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Because everything that she was saying no longer mattered, because she was in conflict with herself. And that's because it took so long for someone to ask her what's wrong.
Yeah, it really is. And for those who don't know, what Shell was referencing was last year during the spike of the BLM protests, we went out and protested, and of course most people were supportive, and then there's those some that were not. And as we were marching in LA, a fight started to break out between an anti-BLM protester, and they definitely incited it. They came to antagonize the protesters. The fight almost started, and Shell started to walk over there. And we all stopped him, but he realized in that second, everyone around they dissipated the fight. They were like, we're not going to antagonize it. We just don't want anyone to get hurt. And it was a collective effort. And it's because everyone's mindset was, we're not here to fight people who don't believe in what we're saying. We're here to let you know what we stand for. And it's that steadfastness that he's talking about, that you, even when the other side is antagonizing you, even when the GNC and the rest of the World Council is not on their side, they had to make sure that they didn't lose sight of the end goal. Otherwise, it would almost immediately backfire on them. You can do 85 good things And on the 86th one, if you do something not great, it destroys all of your work. And is it fair? No. But it is definitely how things work in this day and age. It's so sad. Some people can get away with it being reversed. 85 bad things, and they do the 86th thing, and it's great. And people are like, oh my gosh, a hero. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's unfair. And you're like, yep, life's tough, get a helmet. Like, it's just going to be that way. So Carly was it's sad because I think Nifa said it in the chat. Her storyline was choppy. We didn't get to see a lot of her emotional motivation, like her, I don't even know the name of the person who passed away because it was so quick. But as much as I didn't like Carly, I had to say, I was like, if someone who was really close to me was killed because of other people and their negligence, can I honestly say I wouldn't be angry? No, 100% no. I know you would feel it. The rage would be real, and then the justice would be real. So, to an extent, she made sense. Yeah. Until she deviated from the rest of the team. Then you're like, girl, you're voted off the island. Like,
she looked back and went, we're going this way, and everyone was like...
They were like, no. So, yeah, Carly was intense. Now, on to this one. Okay. Death by S.H.I.E.L.D. No, this isn't the sad one just yet. But this is Death by S.H.I.E.L.D. I asked you, how wide did your eyes get? I can tell you now, Joseph and I screamed into suspended silence because I knew it was going to come. You know from the get-go, the minute Johnny Walker, Texas Ranger, takes up the shield, he's going to use it in not the S.H.I.E.L.D. way. But to actually see it, and I don't know if have you ever seen American History X, the movie?
Yes.
It reminded me of that death, the sidewalk death. Gruesome. Gruesome. So, how did it feel for you to see the S.H.I.E.L.D. bloodied in that way?
That was beyond difficult because up until the point where he actually did the thing, I still had like a sliver of hope that there was some sort of redemption that could have happened. He could have realized, he didn't do it. He could have realized, this Captain America wouldn't stand for X, Y, and Z. He could have realized that, Lamar was like, you make the right decisions in the heat of battle. And that none of those things were things that happened. And that after that, I was like, he can't. In my head, I was like, he can't have that shield anymore. He cannot be Captain America. And that's when I formulated the fact that, again, like, he was literally bred to be Captain America, but that serum wasn't for him. Captain America wasn't it wasn't made for him. He was built to be it, but that doesn't mean that it's compatible. It's not compatible. Like, and I have a very fond, I guess, understanding, or not even understanding, but the word shield is a lot to me because, and I will expose this too. You and Ray gave me when we were doing our Across the Multiverse set,
no, it was the very first.
It wasn't.
It was Return to the Unknown.
Oh my God,
that's so long ago.
Yeah, that's ages ago. Return to the Unknown, and you guys were giving out cloud cards for everyone on the company, and everyone for specific reasons, and mine was the shield, and shields are supposed to be like beacons of hope and for protection, and like if you see a shield, you should know you can go there and you'll be safe and you'll be taken care of. And to see it used in such a visceral way, like to see it used as a metaphorical sword, and not even metaphorical, but like, so you bring up American History X. I can only assume how that man died. Like it was bad. It was bad. It was bad. And especially Captain America's shield, because that's a shield that, in my eyes, and it's weird because before this show, I never realized that I never associated Captain America with actual America.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird thing to recognize.
No, but it's true.
But no part of me ever said they should be same. Their ideals should be same. And I still don't feel that way. Because in my head, I was like, yeah, he's supposed to be the America that people strive for. And I was like, wait, this is weird. So seeing that, I was like, oh, that's what happens when I associate Captain America with regular America, though, like, because you see a symbol of protection and justice and peace and all the things, and like, yeah, maybe you get bruised ribs from trying to shoot that guy, like you see that, and it's now bloodied, and it's stained and etc. Like it was a hard sight. It was a hard sight, and I remember watching it, and my eyes got real big. And when I say real big, I mean I watched it after work, so like how big could they get? And I was just like,
yeah.
And I thought I was wrong in what I was seeing, and I was like, no, like, and I in my head I replayed the situation, the scenes, and everything that led up to it, and I was like, yo, I still can't believe it, because hashtag not my Captain America, you know? And that was rough. It was rough to see that, and in my head I went straight back to, yo, Sam would never have done that. But then there was an entire internal dialogue for how I felt about Sam would never have done that. And,
it was harsh because the way that the Avengers were designed was that none of them were supposed to have weapons that could kill. There's a reason why they decided Thor, we're going to use Thor as one of them, because he has a hammer. He doesn't have a sword like the rest of the Asgardian gods. He has a hammer. Captain America, he's a soldier. He doesn't have a gun. He has a shield. There's Iron Man has blasters, but you never see those blasters like tear through a person. Hulk doesn't choke people out. He smashes because there's something different. No one was supposed to look like they could kill someone. That was the main thing. They didn't, if they gave weapons that like a sword or something of that, like it was given to like Deadpool or characters that were R-rated, that you like Wolverine, characters that you knew had that kind of history. But the Avengers were supposed to be a symbol of protection rather than destruction, defense as opposed to offense. So the fact that he took a defensive item and used it in an offensive way, in both meanings of that word offensive, it was like, wow, they knew what they were doing with this show in order to depict that. And with that being said, I wanted to go into that question that I asked you. This is the hard one. It's both of them put together. So I said they knew exactly what they were doing with this show. They did this show because we knew Sam couldn't be Captain America without having to explain his whole journey, which was great because we got to actually delve into what the journey meant for Sam to become Captain America. But then bittersweet in the sense that we have to have an explanation why Sam can be Captain America. Like, he can't just take it up after Endgame. And Sam was trying to explain to Bucky the whole time. He's like, no, I couldn't. Because it means something different than if you got the shield as opposed to me getting the shield. And we saw that in the interaction with the police on the street. We saw that when they go meet Isaiah for the first time. We saw that even just with what he was dealing with his sister and the boat and going to the bank. It's like it doesn't seem real how many hoops he has to jump through. And even he's still trying to keep a level head about it, which was also bittersweet because you're like, you shouldn't have to keep a level head about this. All of this is terrible. All of this you shouldn't have to jump through this many hoops to be Captain America because you know that shield is yours. So I want to ask you, especially because I know that's where it hit you so hard, culminating in his final speech at the very end of the last episode. How did that sit with you? Like, how hard did all that hit for you?
I will still use the same example. So Hulk smashed Loki when he was talking about that good ish, like that hard. Because when the episode started and I saw Sam put the shield away and I saw him give it to the museum, I was like, oh, that makes sense. He's not going to take this as black. And I was watching that with my mom and she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, he's not going to take this as black. It's fine. For those of you that don't know, my mom is Chinese and Indian, but also she gets it. Because she worries about me whenever I go out. So she was like, well, how can you assume that? And I was like, well, I mean, it's a movie, but I was like, but I get it. The last Captain America was blonde hair, blue eyed. It was Steve Rogers. Like, that's America's butt.
Yes.
Like, And she was just like, "Oh, like, is that why he didn't keep it?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't seen the series, but I assume that makes the most sense." I was like, "I wouldn't keep it." And then she was just like, "Oh, that's sad." And then they went about their merry way, etc. Like, because again, it's a show. So watching that and kind of having that narrative in my head and watching him jump through all of the hoops, and I'm gonna do it again because I did it the last time. I was like, it made me realize that nobody is exempt. Like, nobody gets a pass. Um, Nobody. Like, he was an Avenger. He was the first voice that we heard when we thought all hope was lost, and nobody gets a pass. You are put into a category and you exist the way you exist, and people will perceive you how they perceive you, and that is unfortunately just what it is. Like, you can't be an Avenger and get a pass on a boat or on a loan or etc. You still have to explain yourself. You still have to give your credentials. You still have to do and say all the right things in all of the wrong situations for the sake of preservation of life, because no one gets a pass. This entire series was a series of no one gets a pass, but here's why you should be okay with it. And even watching this series, and I remember I was talking to somebody at work about it for a little bit, and they were like, I wonder if, like, and political parties aside, because again, we're in a safe space, I feel it. Um, Somebody said, like, I wonder if Republicans are watching this and they're going, oh, like, that doesn't make sense. And I told the person at work, and I was like, no, because Republicans would have turned this off as soon as the idea of Captain America being Republicans, right? There's a difference. Republicans, Trump supporters. I completely believe there's a difference. Mm-hmm. So I said Republicans because I know what she was saying. This, yes,
yeah,
would have turned this off as soon as Captain America was even offered the idea of being black.
Yep.
And she was just like, "Oh, that is different." And I went, "Yeah." And she's like, "But you're also a nerd." And I went, "Oh, okay." I outed myself. Whatever. Whole new place. So it was hard. It was hard to watch the struggle. It was hard to find any hope in the fact that if even the Falcon couldn't get a pass for being great, for doing great service for X, Y, and Z, like, I'm a whole regular person. Like, what hope is there for me to have any of that? And I'm gonna bring up the case that I've been looking for, but apparently I can't type and speak. I didn't know I could do that, but
it's hard.
Karan Nazario. Karan Nazario was in an entire police uniform and asked what was wrong. Or not police uniform, military uniform. He's in military fatigues and asked what was wrong. Asked what am I doing wrong, etc. When he got pulled out of his car and after he got pepper sprayed, he said, "I'm afraid to get out of my car." And the officer's response was, "Yeah, it should be." If someone who in real life, not even in a Marvel show, episode, movie, production, etc., gets pulled out of their car and told you should be afraid, what the hell hope do I have? I just work at a restaurant. I serve people food. That's all I do. I don't serve this country. But if he should be afraid, then I should definitely be afraid, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was a weird thing to watch because we will pull it to the Marvel universe, and if someone that could fight Thanos as a regular human who dedicated his life, by the way, to saving people, to protecting people, because he was a pararescue airman, can still be discredited, can still have to explain his credentials, can still have to tell people why or who he is or etc. There's just like a really big absence of hope, like, to watch that, and that sucks. And then they brought Isaiah into it, and I was just like, oh, it goes deeper than just this new generation of people who understand things. It goes all the way down the ladder to back in the day where you could want to be the best version of yourself for whoever, but it's not going to matter because you may never get credit. And you just got to be okay with that. And that's never sat right with me, because why not? What more would I have to do to have you go, oh, that was an important thing that you did, other than be not myself, other than not look the way that I look? Like, that's rough. To know that something you had no hand in is something that everyone wants an apology for is rough. Because that's what that was. Isaiah knew, if you bring me out to speak out against our government, I'm not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be found. He didn't want to take credit. He didn't want people to know how important he was. He was an entire super soldier still. He had all of the power and remained docile for the sake of keeping out of the radar of people that would cause him harm. He had all of the power and didn't act on anything because he knew it wouldn't have mattered. What was 2020? All of the power, but no one wants to say or do anything because who's listening? Who cares? Because no one's asking what's wrong.
And I put this to you, I was like, when Isaiah goes to the memorial, when Sam makes the memorial for him, it was incredibly bittersweet and more bitter than sweet, because you're like, yay, they're now going to know who you are and everything, but that's also not going to take away the 30 years you spent in prison. It's not going to take away half of your life that was ripped away from you. And one of the hard things, because there is so much association to the BLM protest, all that. Ironically, I was just rewatching season 3 of Stranger Things, and there's a conversation between Elle and Hopper. Yeah. And Elle says it's right before they go down into the Russian bunker and whatnot. And Elle says, I can fight. And Hopper smiles and says, better than any of us. But the thing is, you don't have to fight anymore, because they're not looking for me. They're looking for you. And so let me protect you, because I'm capable of doing that. That's the whole point. You've been fighting for all the past seasons, all the past years, and now it's our turn to protect you. And I remember crying watching that just like all of 3 days ago, because I was like, you heard me say that last year. I was like, they're not looking for the rest of us. They were looking for you. And you were out there speaking up for everything. You were out there trying to protect other people, and I'm yelling at you to come home after work. But you're like, I gotta walk these people to their cars so that they're safe. And I'm like, bruh, they ain't looking for them. They're looking for you. And yet you were still willing to be the shield for them. And so that really hurt, because that's what Isaiah needed. He needed somebody else to fight for him. But so many people were unwilling to do that it resulted in what happened to him, which was kind of like a very sad symbolic role of what Bucky was for Sam in that moment out on the street. That Sam shouldn't have to defend himself. But how much better was it that he had Bucky to be like, are you kidding me? I'm the one antagonizing him. I'm also the international assassin. This guy is just a former soldier. And like, did it make it okay? Ideally, no. They shouldn't have suspected Sam at all. But in the reality of the situation, you needed Bucky to be like, yo, I'm white, okay? You're white. We are 2 white guys. Leave him out of it. And that was like so, and especially Sam's like quiet, like the fact that he was so quietly surprised, because he wasn't really surprised, but he was trying to give the benefit of the doubt. Which is, I've seen so many black men and women have to quietly give the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, you're not treating me kind of nice. The black community needs the rest of us, who no one's looking for, to step forward and be like, hey, what you're doing is freaking terrible. And that goes along with the lines of, it's no longer okay to just be not a racist. You have to be anti-racist. Otherwise, you're going to make people like Sam have to fight for something that was his the whole time. That shield was his the whole time. His ideals lined up with it the whole time. And he had to explain to Bucky, he's like, it's not like how it's going to be for you and Steve. You could have killed so many people, and you could take up the shield right now and it would be fine. I'm literally a hero to this country. and I still got to write an 18-page essay and spend the next 2 years proving that I deserve a shield that was literally given to me. Literally. And it's not for anything other than the fact that he is black. And that's why I was like, this show is so important, and yet, like, is it getting lost on people? Because, like you said, the people that need to see it the most are turning it off. And that sucks. But it's good, but it sucks, but it's good.
Because the people that miss that off button are the people that maybe will digest the fact that, sorry, like, your greatest hero is now black. Because America, if you really look at what this country was built on, we've got people from China that built the railroad. We've got people from Africa that didn't want to be here. We've got people that tried to manifest destiny, and they went somewhere. I don't know how far somewhere, but they went somewhere. I played Oregon Trail. I died of dysentery multiple times. Like,
did you ever die of exhaustion?
It was always dysentery and a missing wagon wheel.
Oh, I always died. They're like, you were too tired, so you just died. And I'm like,
Are you not tired?
Are you not tired? Are you crazy? Oh, I forgot about that one. But like, and it's ironic because in the cosplay equivalent of Sam having to earn something that was already his, I'm gonna hit you a little bit with this one, Shell. I didn't ask you this question. Yeah, this one's new. You've had to defend yourself being Tenya Ida, a role that was literally made for you, that you were perfect for. You played to a T. Everyone accepted. And then there's that 1% that just doesn't understand. And I can't understand what they don't understand. Because I've texted you randomly being like, oh my God, you look like him. Like, you're standing on the stage and you look, I put your picture next to his. I'm like, you look exactly the same. Like, your face shape is the same. Your hair was, the way your body was built is exactly the same. So I'm like, how do people not understand this? And I'm like, oh, because people are freaking racist. That's why. That's the only reason why. So like, how, like, you've had to do that. You've had to prove yourself when you didn't have to prove yourself.
Well, it's none of it's fun, but especially for things like horror, and not even for the sake of other people, for the sake of wanting to bring to life the things you give me the ability or the privilege to try to bring to life. Like, I study, I look up things, I do my research. Ida likes grape juice, but if he doesn't have grape juice, he'll have orange juice instead because it's just more readily accessible. Like, I know this. If you cut off his engines, yeah, it'll hurt, but like, he gets a little bit faster. That's an entire familial trait. Like, things that I look up that I had to have in my back pocket because I knew that doing this, there would be people that weren't really fond of my Ida, which is fine. It's not, but it's not even a little bit fine. But I did it knowing that I couldn't be combative to the point of it exhausting me because then I wouldn't have had anything left for stage.
Mm-hmm.
But being on stage with Core has always and will always be a thing that I did for the people who look like me or even a little like me that are saying that, oh, I can't cosplay this because I'm too dark. Being Natsu was as much for me as it was for Austin because I love that nugget. He's an entire spaz. He'd be a great Natsu because if you try to stump him on fairy tale facts, you'll lose.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee it. And he has every rhyme and reason and ability to be Natsu with his little peanut head. Like, would be the best Natsu. People shouldn't be afraid to do things that they love because people are saying, well, this isn't realistic enough. Because you know what is realistic? The fact that you suck for calling them out on not matching a character that is a drawing. If you love it, then acknowledge the art. And say good job, because are you cosplaying? No. It's rare that I see, like, well-known cosplayers telling other people, oh, that cosplay doesn't make sense. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Because the people that don't do anything are typically the people that want to gatekeep for the people that try. So if you're out there and you want to cosplay something and you want to do a thing, please do it. And please tag Core in it, and please literally salute your entire heart for everyone, because that's what we're about. That's what we've always been about. I don't look like Mori senpai. I'm tall and I put a blazer on, and then when I go to work, everyone tells me I'm pretty. It's weird. It happens. My servers are like, I don't understand it. Like,
you look different when you Mori senpai. You have a Mori senpai look. It's funny.
Well, and I would never have known that if you didn't tell me.
But also you forget when you put on clothes in general, just like as a human, you're cosplaying. You forget that. Clothes are your cosplay.
When I was the attorney, was it Phoenix?
Oh.
Joseph, I miss you so much. I literally wore a suit to my brother's wedding, and like I was walking back to the hotel because that was performance weekend, and someone was like, "Nice cosplay, Phoenix," and I was like, "Yeah, like what does that mean?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when you answered the door and someone was like, "Great cosplay," and you're like, "Oh, I'm just home."
Yeah. Yes. Because those things happen, and it's wild. But the idea that people don't belong in a suit or in something. Today, like I had a little bit of time when I was waiting for my car to be finished because I did car things today. Wonderful. I saw a cosplay. It was a Legend of Korra cosplayer. She was plus size.
Oh, I love that one. I saw it.
And I looked at it
so
and I was like, yo, she's got water in her hands. That's dope. But what I realized when I was looking at it was that it was a defense post against people that were saying, like, why is everyone upset with me cosplaying this? Like, yes, I'm plus size, but I'm still going to do it. Like,
oh my God, I did not even read that caption. I just saw it and was like, dude, this was sick.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was bittersweet because, again, like, if someone that puts that much effort into the editing, the makeup, the cosplay, the etc., can still be poo-pooed on, but I get mistaken for a cosplayer when I just wear a blazer and a tie, like, no, I don't. That's not the cosplay world that I want to live in, and that goes right back to the gatekeeper thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wakanda, and you have the whole shirt. Wakanda will forever and always mean everything to me. Wakanda doesn't exist, so no one can tell me that I don't belong to Wakanda the same way that I can't say that I do belong to Wakanda. America does exist, and America tells me I don't belong here. Gatekeeper, right? That sucks. Because I'm first generation, which means I'm American. So if I don't belong here, where do I belong? Tell me nowhere. I've never asked anyone that question because I don't want the answer. I'm weird when it comes to asking hard questions because I would rather live in blissful ignorance of not thinking that you suck as a person and ask you the hard question than ask you the question, have you answered me going, okay, well, now you suck and I can't talk to you. Like, I'd rather not know that. Yeah, it's terrible. I do it at work all the time because we have so many regulars. I'd rather not ask regulars how they feel about situations because if I ask and they tell me, then I'm like, okay, well, now I don't ever want you to come back here. But my job is to still make sure you have a good experience, you know?
Yeah.
So instead, I'll skate all the way around it, questions, and live my whole best life. And if we never talk about the serious things, that'll be great. But those are the types of things that certain people have to do. They have to not make their point heard because of where they work, because of where they exist, because of how they exist. Because they're not looking for you, they're looking for me. Although this year, they're not looking for me, they're looking for you. Because even though half of me is the you, they don't know that. Because no one cares to ask.
No.
So that's fine. So now, oh, how the turns of table.
Oh, how the tables turn table. But it's true, and it's crazy because, like, everything you just said, just about your life experience, about what you've experienced and what you're doing in this day and age is why this show was so good. Because it's funny because usually you watch superhero shows to see situations that wouldn't pertain to normal life. Like, how often do Skrulls infiltrate random people and take over? How often does a witch have a mental breakdown out in the middle of New Jersey? Like, you watch these shows for that, and yet this one was the time where we watched a superhero reflect what was happening in real life, and how, like you said, no one gets a pass. Even after everything he did, he still had to deal with the same stuff, still had to prove, still had to discuss, still had to hold grace for other people. So at the end of the day, like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, those showrunners, the whole team, the cast, the crew, they knew, they had to know every day on set that they're like, oh my gosh, if there was ever a time for this show to come out, when everyone's locked at home and has no choice but to watch it, this is the time for it to come out. And when Sam put that suit on, when he went out there and was just, like you said, just a person, not a super soldier, just a person. He's just a person doing the sickest moves with this shield and flying, which I don't know if any of you guys have tried to eat and walk at the same time. That's hard. I can't type and listen at the same time, let alone type and know what I'm typing. Like, he was flying, managing little Redbird. Also, side note, like, in a great moment of BLM and Stop AAP I Hate, when he called up the Asian senator to fly the helicopter, she was like, I got this. Me and Joseph were like, you would be the one that knows how to fly the helicopter, and would be the one who was like, oh, crap. So Captain America just said, let's go, let's go. 3, 2, 1, let's go! And like, I was like, oh, what a great team up. So good. Yeah. But then after doing all that, and then Sam had to come back and then have that whole speech in front of everyone and be like, people still aren't okay with me wearing this, and I have to be okay with that. Like, if you put this suit on, butt fart senator, whoever you are, no, you could literally be fine, because Johnny Walker, Texas Ranger, put it on and nobody cared that he was toting a gun around in this day and age. But like, I'm putting it on and I'm doing like the coolest stuff and making it look good, and I still have to know that people aren't going to be okay with that, because that wasn't just a reflection of the show. That was a reflection of Marvel fans and what Marvel is going to have to deal with, because believe it or not, there are going to be people who don't like that Sam is Captain America. Just like there are going to be people who don't like that Jane is going to eventually take up Thor's hammer. Just like people aren't going to be happy when Riri Williams comes into play as Iron Man. Like, talk about that one's going to be hard. She's a black woman. A black woman having to take up the Iron Man mantle. And whoever is Riri Williams, like, God bless you. You're going to do the work of the Lord, because that is going to be a crazy undertaking. Look how much Captain Marvel had to take. How much Brie Larson had to take for just being
your hair.
She had to be a female character. Not even she was playing, like, it wasn't like Sam trying to take over Captain America and replacing someone who was... No. Captain Marvel is a blonde woman, and then she had to defend the fact that she was a woman playing a woman. Like, you can't make this stuff up, and yet it's still there. Yeah, people are still mad that she's Captain Marvel, and you're like, who else would you have had as Captain Marvel? The cartoon? Or are we just gonna do a Blue's Clues thing, and like all the Avengers and Captain Marvel's the one cartoon in the movie? Like, what do you think is happening here? Oh, people. So I don't know. It's amazing what this show did. It is so satisfying to watch Sam take up that shield. I'm excited for his movie. Let's have more. Let's have more Sam be Sam, because what a great person. Like,
and I posted it multiple moons ago, like, because this shield is my friend Devin's shield, and I was like, oh, like, I could only imagine. And a bunch of people messaged me back, and they're like, do it. I just tried on the cosplay once. Like, it wasn't for an official anything. I've never been terrified to cosplay a character, and I've been a whole lot of characters. Captain America has always been that, and I've never voiced it because I'm like, I don't know how to use the words that make sense. And this entire series was that, because I know that that is a whole big deal. Like wielding that shield is a whole big deal, and for a lot of people, which is it's wild. It's wild because people don't stop to do the research. Like the same way you said, like people are gonna be mad about Jane taking up Thor. My friend's Estonian, but like Norse mythology, all of the mythology, like is his thing. Yeah, the same way that Wakandans use women for battle because their god is a goddess, is the same way that Vikings used women for battle because they were more agile, they were less suspecting, and they did more damage.
Yep.
So, do your research and stop being weird, because you can definitely wield the power of Thor as whoever you are. Like, it's gonna come back to me for the gatekeeping thing. It's weird that there are so many people that are so willing to die on that hill of, well, you can't do that because you look X, Y, and Z, and it's such a lonely hill. Because, or maybe it's not. Unfortunately, it's not.
You know what? Actually, I'm gonna pull a Dez on you, and say that I hope that today, like this day, April 28th, 2021, that is a lonely hill. I'm gonna hope that it is a lonely hill because of everything that's happened, and we're making less and less space for these terrible people. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to tell people, like, I believe in this, but I don't want to impede on, anyone. I don't want to tell anyone, like, don't do this and don't do. No. Poo on that. Yeah, we're going to tell you. You can't be mad that Captain America is Sam Wilson. You can't be mad that a woman's going to be Thor. You can't be mad. Oh, you said this in your video, that there are still people who are still upset that Obama was president. Not for his policies, but because of the way he looked. Like, and some people are like, well, some people are going to like Obama and some people aren't. No. You can't not like him because he's black. You just can't. It doesn't matter what your opinion is. You can't. You don't get to. I'm sorry. And they're like, but I believe. No. That's not a belief. That's being a butthead. And I don't know, unless you want poop coming out of your mouth every 2 seconds, don't be a butthead. Yeah. So it's great because I feel like we're getting more and more fodder and more ammo to fight against these terrible people. Like, it feels great knowing that Captain America is Sam. So I'm like, yeah, post that image everywhere. And I want you to cosplay as Captain America. I hope that when we go back to cons, I like, can every Captain America be black? Can every Captain America be Asian? Like, people don't know there was a Chinese Superman. Can he show up more?
Weird. It's weird. Why don't?
Like, he is
an Asian Hulk.
Yeah, but there's like in the comic books there was the Asian Superman, and I'm like, oh, he looks sick. And an Asian man can cosplay as Superman at a con, and some people will still be like, Superman isn't Asian. And but how satisfying is it to be like, yeah, he is. How satisfying is it for any black cosplayer to be like, Captain America is black, so suck it. Like, it just gives that extra oomph. Like, shows like this, and for something so big like Marvel to give this to the community so they can be like, yeah, let's go. Like, it makes me hype. I'm like, let's go do this. Let's everyone cosplay these characters and fight back against these terrible people, because there are gatekeepers in the nerd culture. And we know who they are, and we should pinch them in the eyeball for how they act. But it just makes it better. Like, I can't wait till you do your Captain America cosplay.
Because you know it's coming.
Because it's coming. I don't even know that it's coming. And that it is happening. And it's going to be awesome. And, like, I mean, you'll be Captain America. I'll be Dovich. It'll be great. We'll fight each other.
And Des will be Red.
And Sammy will be Gamora. What a hodgepodge of a...
I do want to keep Gamora. Yeah, that makes sense.
She's still got to be Gamora.
I love that for us.
Honestly. But, I mean, to close all of this out, overall thoughts on the show. How does it feel? How do you think it's going to impact the world, both in Marvel and out of Marvel?
I think interior to Marvel, watch it to understand that all of our favorite team ups are people, because this is the most personable that we will see all of these people. Like, Sam brought us home to his family. Bucky fixed a boat. He hasn't done that since the first movie. Bucky slept on the couch. You don't sleep on a couch if you have PTSD. You sleep on the floor because you can control a little bit better your comfortability. You can wake yourself up if it gets weird. Like, Bucky hit on Sam's sister. That's a weird friend thing to do. I wouldn't. That sounds strange. But, like, also, Sam addressed it and wasn't violent. He was just like, talking to my sister again. I'm cutting you up. That made sense. Like,
yeah.
There's so much love in this series. Like, there's so much... WandaVision, there's so much love in that series that you gotta know that these things are literally built and given to us so that we fall in love with our favorite characters all over again. And I, even in ways that I never thought, because, like, I never considered how I felt about Winter Soldier, Bucky, and Sam outside of Captain America. But when he was gone, I was just like, oh, what do you guys have in common? I'm interested now. What's happening?
It was like an enemies to lovers trope for sure.
They literally gave me a Jim Dwight thing, but, like, with, like, muscle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I can't even tell you who's who.
Same. But I loved every minute of it because it was important. It was important, and it needed to happen, and there was so much support because even in the midst of all of their like, we'll call it tomfoolery, like, their all of the things and just them not being serious, Bucky still found it in himself to say, I'm sorry, because I never considered why you didn't want the shield.
I loved that moment.
That was huge. And it's never too late to tell people you care about that you learned some new things and you've now made a different decision. Don't let pride be the reason you don't do that, because that was a huge deal. Because if he hadn't, Sam literally would have just skated around the fact because he didn't have the words. He didn't know how to say it. It was a huge deal. And to feel that kind of support for people that maybe don't look like you, would just love you regardless, like that, literally, wow, put on any cosplay Core tells me to. Like, and I told General, I told Ray, I told them both, I was like, I have always been more comfortable in whatever cosplay you give me where I get a mask. And we took that to the extent of me getting full armor. But because you can't tell me that I'm not that character if you can't see what I look like. It was a lot. It is something I will never apologize for. That's just how I feel. So it just, yes. Inside of Marvel, watch it for those reasons. Outside of Marvel, watch it to gain an understanding of maybe where people come from. Because Sam wasn't from money. He wasn't from a lot of things, and people started to question who he was. Bucky lived his life making decisions, and granted, don't use Bucky as an example to say, like, I had no choice. No, he actually had no choice.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, if you did a terrible thing, own up to it, but also, like, understand that an apology is still fully okay. Like, you're allowed to. And if someone says, like, you can't apologize, no, you can still apologize. If they don't accept it, then it's also fully okay, because if you mean it, etc., then do the apology thing. And not even for your own conscience, like, just, I don't know, just, Sam said it, like, if you want to do things, if you want to create change, if you want things to be better, you got to meet people halfway. So figure out what halfway looks like, and watch it for no other reason than to figure out, like, what doing better looks like, because you can see it in Sam, you can see it in Bucky, you can definitely see it in Dovich. And I'm not saying that because it's Des. I'm saying that because if you watch the series, he was the entire moral compass for a movement. Yeah. He sat with the leader of it that felt like she'd never have a normal life and said, when this is over, he had hope that it would end. He had hope that it would be better. He had hope that people would be better. He was Des, doing Des things, saying, so when we're not doing this anymore, like, go live your life, be happy. It's wild. But bad days only last 24 hours is what I got from that. So
oh, I like that. I was that was so serendipitous, because today I was literally thinking of the term bad day and how some people consistently seem to have bad days. And some people consistently try to make the best out of their bad days, but I love that. The bad days only last 24 hours. That's a good one.
It's the next day, the other time. Otherwise,
You're right.
That's weird.
So all in all, if you haven't watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, please do so. If you do, make sure you follow Des on Instagram. He's awesome. Like we're all just waiting for his next big project because he has big things coming. Thank you so much, Shell, for hanging out with me. I want to have, now that I finally figured out Zoom, I got to talk with Jason and Caleb last time about like the final chapter of AOT. I got to talk to you about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, I'm so excited to have more of these discussions later on because these are literally what we used to stay up at Noble House and talk about. And now we can do it with other people listening because why not? It's my show. I can do whatever I want. Before we sign off for today, I just want to remind you all, if you love what Core does and you want to help support, that you can't see it, so let me make sure you can see it. Please consider being a patron. Oh, let me get rid of this guy. Where is he? There he is. A patron. So we are on Patreon. If you just go on to patreon.com and type up the Core Dance Crew, you'll find us. You can subscribe and be a patron for as low as $2 a month. It helps contribute to all of our expenses. We are not self-independent. Some people come onto my Instagram and think, like, you get to travel the world and dance. And I'm like, bruh, no. I gotta be a real human. I know when. Where. So what we do is purely out of love. And so we appreciate any and all support coming from our patrons. You can go as low as $2, as high as $10. We love our patron community. They are literally our comrades in arms with everything. Everything that you give to us contributes to making more content, more cosplays, more performances, all that jazz. And you get a say in it, which is what's awesome. A lot of our patrons they know what we're doing next. So if you want to know what we're doing next and be a part of it and kind of give your insight on certain things, go ahead and join us on Patreon. Other than that, don't forget we are collaborating with The Coldest Water. If you don't use, God bless America, I didn't put these in the right order. If you use our code CORE, C-O-R-P-S, don't say cores like Caleb. He awkwardly pluralized our name. It was strange. CORE, you get 10% off of your purchase. Coldest Water is right here. It is awesome sauce. I really want to get the purple one. Soulmate wants to get this nice mint one, and we're trying to get Nifa to get the pink one so we can be pastel Powerpuff Girls. Because why not? Maybe this is still going on. And if you haven't seen behind me this awesome jacket, if you know the season 4 and the time skip of Attack on Titan, that's what this jacket is inspired by. The new uniforms with the Thunder Spears. If you want cool merch like that, you can head over to Fandomaniacs store. We are doing a collaboration with them. If you use our code CORE10, you get a discount on your order. They have Attack on Titan gear. They have Boku no Hero Academia gear. They have Demon Slayer. They have Naruto. Yo, Han, they have some sick Naruto stuff. And like, you know me, I don't like Sasuke. I don't like the Uchiha. They have a pretty sick Uchiha jacket. Angel Eye is pretty cool. Yeah, they also have the shoes. And they have a Gaara jacket. Like, are we gonna have to...
You wanna buy the Gaara jacket and like do the shoot again?
Yeah, and we'll, yeah.
Okay.
So if you get the Uchiha jacket and I'll get the Gaara jacket, we gotta recreate that. Which, by the way, low-key, randomly on my Instagram, I gotta put the video of us ninja running to our meeting, because that was the best. But now we gotta do that in the jackets. So, facts. If you don't know, Shelmy and Lauren had to go to a meeting at ALA, and we were dressed as Sasuke, Kakashi, and Gaara, and we decided, well, it's on the other side of the convention center and outside, and we're gonna run late. So what do? We're gonna ninja run. And we ninja ran. Like, legit ninja ran. And we ran the whole way. That was way too far.
The breathing was visceral. Like,
we were...
I'm wearing the ninja sandals.
But also you held the camera, so you were going... Committed. So, if you want to do cool, awesome ninja running or cool, awesome Attack on Titan stuff, check out our video on YouTube, as well as their store. Their merch is awesome sauce. Other than that, that's all the announcements I have. Thank you again, Shell, for showing up, my king. This was awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Wakanda 5 ever, and no longer for just 2 months. I hope to have you on again soon. I want to get as many Corpsmen in and like more of us so we can just talk and be nerds together. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in. Shell, it's been a while because I know you've been so busy, but can you call it out for us, sir?
Do you have to remember how to... Of course I do. You ready?
Hey.
So tomato on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So tomato. Thank you, Han, and thank you all. We'll see you